There's a moment in life, maybe you've felt it, when you realize the world isn't as kind, as pure, or as honest as you hoped it would be. It cuts deep. You find out that not everybody clapping for you is cheering for you. Some are just waiting for you to slip, waiting for you to give them something they can use against you. And in that moment, you either crumble under the weight of their games or you rise. You rise with something so powerful, so unshakable, that no manipulation, no deceit, no hidden agenda can ever move you. It's not just strength. It's not just intelligence. It's something deeper. It's a decision to live by a principle that shields your mind and your soul. It's the one behavior that turns you from a pawn into a king, from someone they can control into someone they can never touch. Today, I'm going to tell you what that behavior is. And once you master it, not just know it, but live it, you will walk into any room, any relationship, any situation, and you will not be moved. You will be free. Let's get into it. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize that the most dangerous battles are not the ones fought with fists or weapons. They are the ones waged within our own hearts. Emotional self-retrieval is not something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, through experience, through heartbreak, through betrayal. It's built every time you want to explode but choose to breathe. It's built every time someone disrespects you and you choose dignity over destruction. You see, the world will come at you with storms. People will test you, push you, pull you. They'll poke at every wound you have, hoping to make you react. But emotional self-control, that's the armor. That's the difference between being someone they can toy with and being someone they can't touch. Because when you hold your emotions in your hands instead of letting them spill all over the floor, you move from being a victim of manipulation to being the master of your own destiny. It's easy to think that strength looks like shouting the loudest or clapping back the fastest. But real strength, the kind that shakes rooms and commands respect, often moves in silence. It's in the stillness of a man or a woman who refuses to be baited into foolishness. It's in the calmness of someone who's been through hell and refuses to let hell live inside of them. Manipulators, they thrive on chaos. They want you confused, reactive, emotional. They want you swinging wildly so they can control the outcome. But when you stand in the storm, unmoved, unbothered, they lose their power. Your calmness is the kryptonite to their control. Every time you refuse to react, every time you choose peace over panic, you tighten your grip on your own life. And let me tell you, there's no high like that. No feeling like realizing you are no longer a puppet on someone else's string. Now, don't get me wrong. Emotional self-control doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you suppress everything and walk around like a robot. No, it means you feel everything deeply, but you choose your response consciously. You are the one deciding how to move, not your anger, not your fear, not your hurt. You're not denying the storm inside you. You're learning how to steer the ship through it. That's real mastery. That's real maturity. Because the world will throw insults, rejection, betrayal, and loss your way. But when you have emotional self-control, you don't let those things define your identity or dictate your future. You process it, you heal, but you don't hand over your steering wheel. The greatest freedom you will ever taste is the day you realize you control yourself, even when the world around you is losing its mind. See, manipulators are experts at finding your weak spots. They look for your need to be liked, your fear of abandonment, your hunger for approval. And the second they find an emotional wound you haven't healed, they poke it, they prod it, they wrap their words around it like a snake. And before you know it, you're reacting, defending, explaining, chasing their approval without even realizing you're doing it. But when you have emotional self-control, it's like you close every open wound. You protect every doorway into your soul. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You simply stand. And that standing, that refusal to dance to their tune, is what makes you impossible to manipulate. You can look them dead in the eye, see the game they're playing, and choose not to play. That is power. Mastering emotional self-control isn't about winning arguments. It's about winning yourself. It's about knowing that no matter what someone says or does, you own your next move. You don't give anyone the privilege of controlling how you feel, how you think, or how you act. Imagine living like that. Imagine walking into every room, every relationship, every opportunity, knowing you are rooted, grounded, unshakable, that your joy, your peace, your purpose are not negotiable, that you can listen to criticism without crumbling, that you can hear lies without reacting, that you can be betrayed without becoming bitter. That's the power of emotional self-control. You don't just survive manipulation, you become invisible to it. You move through life like a fortress, not hard and cold, but wise and discerning, choosing where your energy goes and who gets the privilege of being close to you. And let's be real, this kind of control doesn't happen overnight. It's built in the fire. It's built when you want to scream but choose to breathe. It's built when you want to slam the door but choose to walk away with your head high. It's built every single time you refuse to let anger, fear, or pain hijack your integrity. Emotional self-control is a discipline, a craft, an act of war against every force that ever tried to break you. And the more you practice it, the stronger you become. There will be days when it feels impossible. Days when the world feels so heavy and unfair that you'll want to lash out. But if you stay the course, if you keep choosing control over chaos, you'll find yourself walking in a strength that few people ever achieve. You will start to see life differently. You'll stop needing people to treat you a certain way in order for you to feel good. You'll stop giving your energy to arguments that don't matter. You'll stop trying to win battles that were designed to waste your time. Because with emotional self-control, you realize something profound. Peace is priceless. Your mind is sacred ground. And anyone trying to drag you into drama, into confusion, into chaos, is not worthy of access to it. You will find that you can love people without letting them break you. You can forgive without letting them back in. You can walk away without bitterness or regret, because you are no longer reacting, you are responding. And there's a world of difference between the two. The test of emotional self-control is how you handle betrayal, how you handle being lied to, talked about, misunderstood. Do you lash out? Do you try to clear your name with people committed to misunderstanding you? Or do you stand tall, knowing that truth always outlives the lie? Emotional self-control teaches you to let go of the need for immediate justice. It teaches you that time reveals everything, and that your job is not to fight every battle, but to stay faithful to your path. Because when you stay calm, when you stay focused, the noise around you eventually fades. People will see what they need to see. The manipulators will expose themselves without you having to lift a finger. And you will still be standing stronger than ever, untouched by the chaos that once would have wrecked you. When you have emotional self-control, you become unpredictable to manipulators. They don't know what move you're going to make next, because you're not playing their game anymore. You're not dancing to the tune of their fear tactics or guilt trips. You're moving according to a rhythm they can't hear, the rhythm of your own wisdom, your own peace. And that makes you powerful. That makes you rare. Because most people in this world are reactors, not responders. They are driven by impulse, by emotion, by the need for validation. But not you, not anymore. You have learned that emotional self-control isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about caring so deeply for yourself, your future, your calling, that you refuse to be knocked off course by anyone's drama or dysfunction. There comes a moment when you have to ask yourself, what do I stand for when nobody's watching? Because that's the real test of your character. Standing firm on your values isn't just about making grand speeches or big public gestures. It's about the small, quiet choices you make every single day when no one else is looking. It's when you say no, even though it would be easier to say yes. It's when you choose integrity over approval. In a world that is constantly pulling you, pushing you, tempting you to compromise just a little bit, standing firm feels like swimming upstream. But let me tell you, that resistance you feel, it's not weakness. That's the strength building inside you. When you plant your feet on your values and refuse to move, you become a force. Not a loud, boastful force, but a steady, immovable one. The kind of person who can't be bought, who can't be bent, who can't be broken. And in a world where everybody's chasing the easy way out, standing firm makes you unforgettable. There will be people who try to convince you to bend. People who say, come on, it's just this once. No one will ever know. And in those moments, the real you steps forward. It's not about perfection. It's not about pretending to be holier than anyone else. It's about being loyal to the truth inside you, even when it costs you something. Because it will cost you. Standing firm on your values will sometimes mean walking away from opportunities. It will sometimes mean losing friendships. It might even mean standing alone. But standing alone for what's right is better than standing with a crowd for what's wrong. You have to decide, is your soul worth the price of being liked? Is your integrity worth the price of temporary comfort? The ones who change the world, the ones who leave a legacy that matters, they're not the ones who gave in. They're the ones who stood when everything in them wanted to sit down. When you stand firm on your values, you build a reputation that speaks louder than any words ever could. People start to recognize that you are different, that you're not moved by gossip, by trends, by pressure, that your yes means yes and your no means no. And even the ones who disagree with you, deep down they respect you, because in a world full of people who shift with the wind, a person who stands like a rock commands attention without even trying. You don't have to scream for respect. You just have to live consistently. You don't have to demand loyalty. You just have to show it in your actions. When you hold fast to your values, you send a message to the world. I know who I am. And I refuse to lose myself just to gain temporary applause. And trust me, in the long run, the right people, the right opportunities, and the right blessings will always find their way to someone who refuses to sell their soul. But don't think for a second that standing firm will always feel good. Some days it will hurt. Some days it will feel lonely. Some days you will watch others soar past you because they took shortcuts you refused to take. And your heart will ache, wondering if you made the wrong choice. But hear me. You didn't. Those shortcuts come with a price tag most people aren't ready to pay when the bill comes due. What looks like winning today can become losing tomorrow when it's built on compromise. Standing firm means you're building something real, something lasting. It's the long road, not the fast one. It's the narrow path, not the crowded highway. But it's the only road that leads to true peace. Because at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, there's no sweeter sleep than knowing you didn't betray yourself for anything or anyone. Standing firm on your values gives you a clarity that the world can't touch. You stop being confused about who you are. You stop second guessing your decisions. You start moving through life with a confidence that can't be faked. Because you know you're not living for anyone else's approval. You're not performing. You're not playing a role to fit in. You're standing in your truth, rooted and grounded. And when life storms come, and they will come, you're not tossed around like a leaf in the wind. You're anchored. You're unshakable. You don't have to scramble to find your footing because you never left it. People will wonder how you stay so steady when everything around you is falling apart. They'll wonder how you keep your head up when betrayal, disappointment, and failure come knocking, and you'll know the answer. Because you chose long ago to build your life on something deeper than popularity, deeper than comfort, deeper than fear. Standing firm also teaches you something powerful about strength. Real strength isn't loud. It's quiet. It's not in how much you boast. It's in how much you endure without losing your heart. It's not in how much you fight back. It's in how much you stay true without having to prove yourself. Every time you hold your ground, every time you choose integrity over impulse, you add another layer to your character. And character is what carries you when talent, charm, and even opportunities fail you. When you have character, you don't have to chase doors. They open for you because people can trust you. When you have character, you attract what's meant for you. and you don't have to manipulate or hustle for it. You realize that favor follows integrity like a shadow. And while the road may be harder at first, it's worth every painful step when you finally realize you built a life you don't have to be ashamed of. There will be moments when people misunderstand you, moments when they question your motives, twist your words, doubt your decisions. And in those moments, it's tempting to defend yourself, to explain, to try to change their minds. But part of standing firm is learning to be okay with being misunderstood, learning that not everyone is meant to get you, that not everyone deserves access to your heart or your journey. You don't owe everyone an explanation for why you refuse to bend. Your loyalty is to your values first, not to public opinion. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. Let them judge. You stay the course. You keep building. You keep standing. Because at the end of the day, your life is not a democracy. Your purpose is not up for a vote. And your peace is not something you hand over just because someone else doesn't understand your vision. Standing firm on your values isn't just about you. It's about the people watching you, the people coming behind you. Your strength gives them permission to be strong. Your courage becomes a map for someone else who's trying to find their way. You have no idea who's watching you quietly, who's drawing hope from your integrity, who's finding the courage to stand tall because they saw you do it first. Your life speaks louder than you know. Your choices ripple out into the world in ways you may never fully see. And one day someone will tell you that because you refused to compromise, because you stayed true, they found the strength to stay true too. And on that day, every lonely night, every difficult decision, every painful goodbye will be worth it. Because you didn't just live for yourself, you lived for something greater. So when the pressure mounts, when the temptations rise, when the easy road looks tempting, remember this: your values are your anchor. They are the foundation beneath your feet. Without them, you are just drifting, blown about by whatever is popular or profitable at the moment. But with them, you are steady. You are whole. You are free. Free from the games, free from the lies, free from the empty chase for validation. And when you look back on your life, you'll realize something beautiful. You didn't just survive. You stood. You didn't just exist. You mattered. You didn't just follow, you led. And all of it began with one powerful, life-changing decision to stand firm on your values no matter what. There comes a time in your life when you have to stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am enough. Waiting for someone else to validate you is like standing outside in a storm, hoping someone will hand you an umbrella. You'll get soaked every time. Because the truth is, most people are too busy trying to validate themselves to worry about validating you. And even if they did give you approval today, it's temporary, it's fragile, it's fickle. It's here one moment and gone the next. Building your sense of worth on someone else's applause is like building a house on sand. It can look good for a while, but the first strong wind will tear it all down. You have to learn to be your own approval. You have to wake up in the morning and know who you are before anybody else has the chance to tell you. You have to carry yourself like you are a masterpiece, not because someone said it, but because you decided it. That's where your real power begins. That's where your real peace lives. Right there, inside you. The hunger for validation is a silent thief. It creeps in quietly, whispering lies that sound like truth. It tells you that you need more followers, more compliments, more titles, more attention to be worth anything. It convinces you that you're only as good as the last person who clapped for you. But let me tell you something. Chasing validation is a race that never ends. It's a treadmill that wears you out but never moves you forward. The second you start needing someone's approval to feel good about yourself, you hand them the keys to your happiness. And guess what? People aren't careful with what they don't earn. They'll drop it, they'll misuse it, they'll forget it. Your sense of worth is too valuable, too sacred to be outsourced to anyone else. You are not a project up for public evaluation. You are a finished work of art whose value was set the day you were created, and no opinion, no applause, no rejection can change that. The people whose validation you crave are often the ones who are struggling to validate themselves. They don't see your full worth because they barely see their own. And you're sitting there tying your piece to their broken lenses, waiting for them to tell you you're good enough, when they don't even know what good enough feels like for themselves. It's not personal, it's human nature. People project their insecurities onto others without even realizing it. That's why the only validation that matters is the one you give yourself. When you walk into a room knowing who you are, you don't need anyone to announce you. When you move through life anchored in your own identity, you don't shrink when people ignore you, and you don't swell when people praise you. You stay steady because you know your worth doesn't go up and down based on someone else's ability to see it. Learning not to seek validation is a process. It's not something you wake up one day and master completely. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes catching yourself in those small moments when you're fishing for compliments, when you're scrolling through likes, when you're secretly hoping someone notices your effort. It takes stopping yourself in the middle of those moments and saying, wait, I see me. I validate me. It takes becoming the kind of person who claps for yourself in the dark when no one else even knows what you're building. It takes becoming your own biggest fan, your own greatest supporter, your own loudest cheerleader. Because if you don't cheer for yourself, how can you expect others to? The world takes its cue from you. If you treat yourself like you're enough, the world learns to treat you that way too. But if you walk around desperate for validation, the world learns to hold it back from you like a prize you have to keep chasing. One of the most freeing moments in life is when you stop asking for permission to be great. When you stop waiting for someone to give you the green light. When you realize the road you're on is yours and yours alone. And you don't need anyone else's confirmation to keep walking it. You don't need someone's likes, someone's approval, someone's acceptance to live your destiny. You just need obedience to the calling placed inside your heart. If you know it's right, if you know it's true, if you know it's part of the purpose you were born for, that's enough. You don't have to explain it to everybody. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to shrink it down to fit someone else's comfort zone. You just have to trust it. Trust yourself. Trust the voice inside you that keeps whispering, you were made for more. Every time you seek validation from others, you give them a piece of your power. And the more pieces you give away, the smaller you start to feel. Until one day, you wake up and you barely recognize yourself. You start questioning your own worth because somebody didn't clap for you. You start second guessing your own dreams because somebody didn't understand them. That's no way to live. Take your power back. Gather all the pieces you've given away, piece by piece, and stitch yourself whole again. Tell yourself the truth that was always true, even when you forgot it. You were valuable the day you were born. You were worthy before anybody had the chance to tell you otherwise. You are enough, not because somebody said so, but because you just are. Your breath, your spirit, your heart, your dreams, they're enough right now, as you are. And when you stop seeking validation, a beautiful thing happens. You start living authentically. You stop performing. You stop hiding. You stop editing yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You start speaking your truth without fear. You start creating from a place of freedom instead of a place of fear. You start attracting people who love you for who you really are, not for the mask you wore to earn their approval. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because there's nothing more attractive than someone who is unapologetically themselves. Authenticity shines. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It doesn't compete. It just shines. And when you live in your authentic light, you give others permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect of freedom everywhere you go just by being you. People will not always understand you when you stop seeking validation. Some will call you arrogant. Some will call you stubborn. Some will be uncomfortable with the way you no longer bend over backwards to please them. Let them be uncomfortable. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's feelings about your confidence. You are not responsible for making everyone else comfortable with your growth. You have one responsibility: to stay true to who you are, to guard your heart, to protect your peace, to nurture the fire inside you that refuses to be extinguished for the sake of fitting in. It's not arrogance. It's not rebellion. It's self-respect. And self-respect doesn't apologize for standing tall. It doesn't shrink to make others feel bigger. It stands firm. It stands proud. It stands free. You were not created to live for someone else's applause. You were not made to chase approval like a child chasing after a runaway balloon. You were created to walk boldly in your purpose, to live fully in your truth, to know deep in your bones that you are worthy, you are chosen, you are enough, and nobody, not a critic, not a betrayer, not even a well-meaning friend, can take that away from you unless you hand it over. So don't hand it over. Not today, not tomorrow. Not ever. Protect your spirit like the priceless treasure it is. Affirm yourself daily. Remind yourself who you are before the world has a chance to tell you who you're not. Because once you anchor your worth inside yourself, you become unshakable, untouchable, unstoppable. There's something sacred about being the person in the room who listens more than they speak. It's not weakness. It's not passivity. It's wisdom wrapped in humility. See, when you're always the one talking, you're only repeating what you already know. But when you choose to listen, you open yourself up to what you don't know, what you can learn, what you can grow into. And that's where your power multiplies. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't come from speaking louder. They come from listening deeper. Listening not just to the words being said, but to the feelings behind them, to the fears underneath them, to the dreams hidden within them. Listening is an art form most people have forgotten in a world that rewards noise and speed. But if you can master it, you'll move through life with a strength and clarity that few will ever understand. You'll hear what others miss. You'll catch opportunities before they announce themselves. You'll feel the truth that most people are too loud to notice. And in that silence, you'll find your advantage, your wisdom, your edge. Listening is a sign that you respect yourself enough not to always prove something, and you respect others enough to let them be heard. It's a silent act of strength that says, I don't need to dominate this moment to matter. I'm secure enough in who I am to be quiet and absorb what's around me. Because real strength is not found in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your understanding. So many people are talking over each other, trying to win battles with their words, but they're losing wars in their hearts because they never stopped long enough to hear what was actually needed. If you can be the person who listens first, you become the person who understands first. And the person who understands first, that's the person who leads the conversation, even if they never say a word. Wisdom listens before it speaks. Patience listens before it reacts. Growth listens before it judges. And love listens before it assumes. Listening more than you speak teaches you discernment, because not everything said deserves a response, and not every invitation to argue is worth accepting. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement you can make. Sometimes your refusal to react is what teaches the loudest lesson. When you truly listen, you hear what's urgent but not important. You hear what's emotional but not true. You hear the pain behind the anger, the fear behind the arrogance, the insecurity behind the aggression. And instead of being pulled into every storm that passes by, you learn to anchor yourself in calm waters. You realize that most of the noise around you isn't personal. It's projection. It's people struggling to manage their own emotions, trying to find peace by stirring up others. But when you listen more than you speak, you don't get caught in the storm. You observe it. You understand it, and then you rise above it. Listening humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. There's always another perspective, another story, another layer to the truth you thought you understood. And humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about recognizing the greatness in others too. It's about acknowledging that wisdom isn't a trophy you win, it's a river you jump into every day. Learning how to swim a little better with every conversation, every experience. Listening is how you stay teachable, and teachability is how you stay powerful. Pride wants you to believe you already have all the answers. Wisdom whispers that you never will, and that's exactly why you'll keep growing while others stay stuck. The minute you think you're too smart to listen, you've already started falling behind. Listening protects you. It protects you from speaking words you'll regret. It protects you from making decisions based on assumptions instead of facts. It protects you from building walls where you should be building bridges. When you listen first, you allow space for clarity. You allow time for emotions to settle. You give yourself the gift of better judgment. Some relationships are saved not because someone said the perfect thing, but because someone chose to listen when the other person was too hurt, too scared, or too angry to express themselves clearly. Some opportunities are won not because someone shouted the loudest, but because someone listened closely enough to know exactly what was needed. Listening is like having a map when everyone else is wandering around blind. It's your secret weapon in a noisy world. When you listen more than you speak, you also listen to yourself more. You become more sensitive to your own intuition, your own inner voice. You start catching those quiet nudges that tell you when something is right and when something is wrong. You begin to move with a different kind of confidence, a confidence that doesn't come from external validation, but from internal knowing. And when you move like that, you don't second guess yourself every time someone disagrees with you. You don't crumble every time someone doubts you. You've listened enough to yourself to know your path. You've listened enough to God, to your heart, to the whisper of purpose that calls you forward, even when the world is loud with distractions. Listening isn't passive. It's active, it's fierce, it's intentional. It's how you stay true in a world full of noise. There's a certain dignity about a person who knows how to listen. They don't scramble to be heard. They don't beg for attention. They don't need to prove their worth with every word they speak. They command respect by the way they pay attention. They honor the people around them, and in doing so, they honor themselves. Listening is a form of generosity. It's giving someone the gift of being seen, being heard, being valued. And in a world that's starving for real connection, that kind of generosity is rare and unforgettable. When you listen deeply, people feel it. They remember it. They trust you more because they know you care enough to hear what's not being said. You can change someone's life just by listening to them at the right time, in the right way, with the right heart. But here's the thing. Listening more than you speak doesn't mean you never speak. It means that when you do speak, your words carry weight. They're not thrown out recklessly. They're not diluted by the need to fill every silence. They're chosen. They're intentional. They come from a place of wisdom, not reaction. And because you listen first, your words hit deeper. They heal instead of hurt. They build instead of break. They inspire instead of inflame. When you listen more, you speak less. But when you do speak, people listen because they know you don't waste words. They know you don't speak unless it matters. And that kind of voice is rare. That kind of voice moves mountains. That kind of voice changes rooms, changes hearts, changes lives. Listening more than you speak is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to stand out in a world that's addicted to noise. It's one of the rarest forms of leadership, the deepest form of strength, the highest form of wisdom. It teaches you patience. It sharpens your discernment. It protects your peace. It deepens your relationships. It humbles your pride. It guards your destiny. And it all starts with a simple choice. To pause, to pay attention, to hear before you speak. It's a choice you have to make over and over again, especially when the noise gets louder, especially when your ego wants to prove itself. But if you can keep making that choice day after day, moment after moment, you'll walk a path that few are willing to walk. And you'll build a life that few are wise enough to even imagine. Setting unbreakable boundaries without apology is not about being rude. It's not about building walls to keep people out. It's about building walls to keep your soul protected, to keep your peace intact, to keep your future secured. Because here's the truth, most people are too scared to say out loud. If you don't set boundaries, people will walk all over you without a second thought. Not because they're evil, not because they hate you, but because human nature always tests limits. It's your responsibility to teach the world how to treat you. And you don't do that by begging. You don't do that by apologizing. You do that by standing firm, by speaking clearly, by enforcing your worth without trembling. Every time you apologize for setting a boundary, you teach people that your needs are negotiable, that your peace is optional, that your value is up for debate. But when you set boundaries unapologetically, you don't just protect yourself, you elevate yourself. You show others how serious you are about your life, your time, your heart, your mission. There comes a moment in your life when you realize that pleasing everyone is the quickest way to destroy yourself. You realize that being nice all the time doesn't protect you, it weakens you. It makes you easy prey for manipulators, users, and emotional leeches. You can still be kind, you can still be compassionate, but you must be fierce when it comes to your boundaries, because not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your journey. Some people are meant to love you from a distance. Some people are meant to cheer for you outside the gates of your destiny, not to walk inside it. And the only way you create that distance, that clarity, that protection is by setting boundaries without apology. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you protect your peace. You don't owe anyone a PowerPoint presentation on why your self-respect matters. Your no is enough. Your I'm not available for that is enough. Your silence when someone crosses the line is enough. When you set boundaries without apology, you stop leaking energy on people and situations that are not aligned with your purpose. You stop watering dead plants hoping they'll bloom. You stop trying to heal people who are committed to staying broken. You take all that wasted energy and you pour it back into yourself, into your growth, into your calling. And that shift, it changes everything. You become stronger, sharper, more focused. You stop second guessing yourself every time someone gets uncomfortable with your growth. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown, and you start walking in the fullness of who you were created to be. People will call you selfish. They'll call you cold. They'll call you difficult. Let them. Their words are just noise. Stay rooted in your truth. Stay loyal to your soul, because the price of being boundaryless is your peace, your destiny, your life. And you can't afford that price anymore. The setting unbreakable boundaries without apology is about choosing your future over your fear. It's about choosing your peace over your people pleasing. It's about choosing your purpose over your past patterns. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, you'll lose people. But hear me, it's better to lose people who don't respect your boundaries than to lose yourself trying to please them. Every time you hold the line, you build strength inside of you. Every time you say no to disrespect, you say yes to your destiny. Every time you enforce a standard, you elevate your life. Boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are the foundation of healthy connection. Real love, real friendship, real respect. These things are built on boundaries. Anything else is just manipulation wearing a mask. And you were not put on this earth to be manipulated. You were not created to live in fear of disappointing people. You were born to walk in freedom, in boldness, in purpose. And that begins with unapologetic boundaries. You have to understand, people who get angry at your boundaries are the people who benefited from you having none. Let that sink in. Their anger is not your burden to carry. Their disappointment is not your assignment to fix. Their discomfort is not your responsibility to soothe. When you set a boundary, you're not hurting anyone. You're healing yourself. You're protecting the sacred parts of you that have been trampled on for too long. And if someone can't respect that, they don't deserve a seat at your table. Period. Boundaries are how you sift through the noise, how you separate the real from the fake, how you find out who's with you for the long haul and who was just there for the benefits. So don't you dare apologize for setting standards. Don't you dare water down your needs to make someone else comfortable. You are not too much. Go self-centered. You are not too picky. You are not too guarded. You are protecting the gift that is you. And that is holy work. The more you practice setting unbreakable boundaries, the stronger your sense of self becomes. You stop looking outside of yourself for permission to be who you are. You stop waiting for others to validate your worth. You start standing firm in your own approval. And when you walk like that, when you move like that, you become unstoppable. No one can manipulate you when you are clear about who you are and what you will and will not accept. No one can guilt trip you into lowering your standards when you know your value is not up for negotiation. Setting boundaries teaches you to trust yourself again, to listen to that still small voice inside that says, this doesn't feel right. To honor your gut instincts without doubting them, to respect your own intuition above someone else's expectations. And the more you trust yourself, the less you tolerate anything that betrays that trust. Setting unbreakable boundaries without apology is not something you do once. It's a lifestyle. It's a daily decision. Every time you say yes to something you don't really want, you're training yourself to betray yourself. But every time you honor your no, you build integrity within. You build self-respect. And self-respect is a currency. It buys you freedom. It buys you peace. It buys you relationships that are rooted in authenticity, not obligation. That sits with your self-respect, and that sits with your relationships that are rooted in authenticity, not obligation. People who truly love you will never demand that you betray yourself to make them comfortable. People who truly respect you will celebrate your boundaries, not punish you for them. But you have to lead the way. You have to show the world how serious you are about your peace. And that seriousness starts with unapologetically protecting it every single day. Don't get it twisted. Setting unbreakable boundaries doesn't mean you don't love people. It doesn't mean you don't care. It simply means you love yourself enough not to abandon your own needs for the sake of others' comfort. It means you care enough about your future to protect it from people who are careless with your heart. Boundaries are a love language. They say, I love you, but I love me too. They say, I care about you, but I will not destroy myself for you. They say, I see your humanity, but I refuse to sacrifice my divinity in the process. You can hold compassion in one hand and firmness in the other. You can offer grace without offering yourself up on the altar of other people's expectations. You can be both kind and clear, gentle and unmovable. And when you live like that, you become a force to be reckoned with. The world will test your boundaries. Trust me, they will. People will push, people will prod, people will gaslight and guilt trip you into questioning yourself. But every time you hold the line, you remind yourself that you are no longer available for disrespect. You are no longer available for manipulation. You are no longer available for emotional poverty. You are available for growth, joy, abundance, and freedom. And anyone who cannot honor that is simply not meant to walk with you into your next season. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And clarity is a gift. So protect your boundaries like your life depends on it, because it does. Protect your boundaries like your future depends on it, because it does. Trusting actions over words is a lesson life will keep teaching you until you finally listen. It's easy to get swept away by beautiful words, by promises that sound like music to your ears, by declarations that paint a future so bright it feels almost tangible. But words are cheap when they aren't backed by consistent action. Anyone can tell you they care. Anyone can say they love you. Anyone can promise they'll change, they'll do better, they'll show up next time. But if their actions don't match their mouth, their words mean nothing. Nothing. And the sooner you train yourself to stop being impressed by talk and start being moved only by action, the sooner you'll protect yourself from heartbreak, disappointment, and manipulation. Actions are the real language of the soul. Actions are where truth lives. And if you ignore that, you set yourself up to be fooled again and again. When someone's actions and words don't align, believe the actions every time. If someone tells you they respect you but keeps crossing your boundaries, trust the disrespect you feel, not the apologies they speak. If someone says they're committed but keeps choosing other priorities, trust the distance, not the empty reassurances. This is not about being cold or cynical. This is about being wise. This is about refusing to be a victim of sweet talk and no follow through. It's easy for people to say what they think you want to hear. It's harder for them to consistently live in a way that honors those words. Consistency is the real character test. Patterns are the real truth. People can fake their words for a moment, but they can't fake their patterns forever. So when their actions reveal the truth, don't gaslight yourself. Don't explain it away. Don't make excuses for them. Trust what you see. When you start trusting actions over words, your life changes dramatically. You stop wasting time waiting for people to become who they promise to be. You stop giving infinite chances to those who show you through their behavior that they don't value you. You stop romanticizing potential and start living in reality. Reality will always serve you better than fantasy. Reality will heal you even when it hurts, because reality forces you to make decisions that protect your heart, your future, your peace. Trusting actions over words makes you stronger. It makes you sharper. It teaches you to listen not just with your ears, but with your spirit. It teaches you to move wisely, to discern deeply, to guard your soul fiercely. And the more you live like that, the less you tolerate half efforts, broken promises, and empty talk. You become unavailable for anything that doesn't align with action, commitment, and truth. There's something powerful that happens when you finally stop arguing with reality. When you finally say if they wanted to, they would. When you finally believe what someone's behavior is screaming at you instead of what their lips are whispering. You reclaim your power, you reclaim your time, you reclaim your emotional energy. You realize you don't have to beg anyone to treat you right. You realize you don't have to convince anyone to show up for you. You realize you don't have to decode mixed signals. Because real love, real respect, real loyalty, they are loud, they are obvious, they are undeniable. You don't have to chase clarity when someone's actions are aligned with their words. You only have to chase when the truth is missing. And once you learn to stop chasing, once you learn to stand still and let people show you who they are with their consistency, your entire world transforms. People reveal themselves through the little things, not the grand gestures, not the carefully crafted words. It's in how they treat you when you have nothing to offer. It's in how they respond when you set a boundary. It's in how they act when it's inconvenient to love you. Pay attention to the small moments. Pay attention to how people show up or don't. When there's no spotlight, no reward, no audience. That's where their real character lives. And when someone shows you their real character through their actions, believe them the first time. Save yourself the heartbreak of waiting for a different ending to the same story. Save yourself the energy of hoping that if you love them harder, support them longer, sacrifice more, they'll finally become who they said they were. They won't. They can't. Not because they're evil, but because actions don't lie. And if their actions don't honor you, no amount of hope will change that. Trusting actions over words also means trusting yourself. Trusting your instincts when something feels off. Trusting your intuition when the story doesn't add up. Trusting your gut when someone's words sound right, but their energy feels wrong. You were born with the ability to sense the truth, but too often we talk ourselves out of it. We gaslight ourselves. We say, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. Stop doing that. Start honoring what you feel. Start believing yourself the first time. Your soul recognizes lies even when your mind is trying to justify them. Listen to that knowing. Listen to that tug in your chest. Trust the uneasiness, the hesitation, the pause. It's trying to protect you from wasting years on people whose actions have already told you everything you need to know. One of the greatest freedoms you will ever experience is the freedom of detachment. The freedom of saying, I don't need you to tell me anything anymore. I see everything I need to see. The freedom of not arguing, not explaining, not begging for better behavior. You observe, you accept, you adjust. That's it. That's the level of emotional strength that comes when you choose to trust actions over words, always. You stop being fooled by the pretty speeches, the grand promises, the rehearsed apologies. You see through the performance and straight into the pattern. And once you recognize a pattern, you realize there's no point in arguing with it. A snake doesn't need to bite you twice for you to believe it's a snake. A liar doesn't need to lie to you 10 times for you to understand they are not trustworthy. Once is enough if you're brave enough to believe the truth the first time. People who are real will show you they are real over and over again, without you having to beg, without you having to wonder. Love doesn't hide, respect doesn't confuse, loyalty doesn't require detective work. When someone values you, it's obvious. Their actions match their words. Their consistency feels like peace. Their presence feels like safety. You don't have to be anxious around real ones. You don't have to beg real ones to show up. You don't have to decode real ones' intentions. So when you find yourself confused, anxious, second-guessing someone's intentions, that's a sign. It's not always a sign that they are bad people, but it's always a sign that they are not your people. Trust the ease. Trust the clarity. Trust the ones whose actions speak louder than their declarations. And trust yourself enough to walk away from anyone who doesn't. At the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to stop investing your heart in empty words. You owe it to yourself to demand receipts, not promises. You owe it to yourself to honor the evidence, not the fantasy. Life is too short to waste on people who tell you what you want to hear but never show up the way they should. Love yourself enough to require more than talk. Respect yourself enough to require consistent action. Protect yourself enough to walk away when words are no longer enough. Your heart is too valuable, your time is too precious, your destiny is too important. You don't have to settle for less than what you deserve. You don't have to accept potential instead of reality. You are worthy of a life where words and actions match. And you have the power to choose that life, starting now. Throughout this journey we've taken together today, one truth has been made crystal clear. Your freedom, your power, your peace, they are not up for negotiation. They are not something you hand over lightly to the promises of others. If you truly want to be unshakable, if you truly want to live a life that is protected from the lies, the manipulation, the heartbreaks that come from misplaced trust, you must train yourself to look past the noise, past the beautiful words, past the illusions people sometimes create. You must train your heart to see clearly, to see actions for what they are, to read patterns like open books. Because actions, steady, consistent, undeniable, tell you everything you need to know about a person's heart. They tell you whether you're safe or whether you're standing in a storm pretending it's just a breeze. You have been given an inner voice, a sacred guide, a radar built deep inside your spirit. And that radar is never wrong. It's not your job to silence it to make others more comfortable. It's not your duty to doubt yourself just because someone else's words sound sweet. No, your duty is to yourself first. To listen when the actions and the words don't align. To walk away with grace when you see that someone's behavior no longer honors your worth. To set boundaries that are unbreakable and unapologetic. To move through this world with a heart that is open but guarded by wisdom. That is your protection. That is your shield. That is your path to a life of strength, peace, and real love. You don't need to explain your standards to anyone. You don't need to apologize for trusting the evidence you see in front of you. You don't need to wait for more proof when the truth is already staring you in the face. You have the right to make decisions based on actions alone. You have the right to choose yourself without guilt. You have the right to require consistency, loyalty, and respect from anyone who wants to stand beside you. You have the right to require consistency, loyalty, and respect from anyone who wants to stand beside you. And if they can't give you that, you have the right to walk away. Without anger, without regret, without second guessing. Because when you walk away from what's fake, you make space for what's real. When you walk away from empty promises, you open the door to real commitment. When you trust actions over words, you stop surviving relationships. You start thriving in truth. Let today be the day you finally listen with your eyes instead of just your ears. Let today be the day you finally believe what you see, not what you wish. Let today be the day you take your heart back from the hands of people who don't know how to handle it. Protect your peace, protect your joy, protect your destiny. It's too important to leave in the hands of people who talk a good game, but never show up. Stand firm, stand strong, stand wise, and above all, trust yourself. because you have everything you need already inside you to choose wisely. Thank you for walking through these truths with me today. Thank you for choosing to become stronger, wiser, and more powerful. God bless you. Stay strong, stay faithful, and keep walking in your light.